name is Sharmila. I'm a transgender makeup artist, founder of the Transformation Masterclass, and Jecca Blac ambassador. Today, Jecca Blac and NFM have partnered to create 3 videos together with me to show you how to use Jecca Blac products and create 3 easy looks. Today, we're going to get into the base because for any makeup look, you do need a flawless base. And I'm going to show you how I create my perfect base for any makeup look, any occasion, whether I'm going out, whether I'm just doing some grocery shopping, whenever I want to put on makeup, I just use these products and look flawless, and from that I can easily build. I'm especially going to get into for our trans feminine audience is how to cover beard shadow and also how to contour your face using the Sculpt and Soften palette and a little gift that comes with that. If you're curious, keep on watching. I'm really excited to show you all of these things. Let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to do is prime my skin using the Hydrate Primer by Jecca Blac. This is a beautiful hydrating vegan primer that really feels like a dunk of water on the skin. I love using the Hydrate Primer before anything else because I tend to have a more drier skin type, and this just really preps the skin for flawless makeup application. This one isn't really sticky, it's not slippery, it kind of feels like a moisturizer to me even, and it will not disrupt your makeup at all. The next thing I'm going to do is go in with the Blur and Matte Primer. Now this primer is a bit more silicone based, it's mattifying, but I use it personally more for my textured areas, which is for me mostly my beard area, but also on my forehead and also a bit on my cheeks. So what I do is I take a tiny bit on the back of my hand. As you can see, it is a clear formula. I warm it up with my fingertips. And I really massage it into the spots where I have more texture. Now, with this, without any makeup over it, already gives a beautiful effect, in my opinion. So I even use it on my days where I don't want to wear any makeup at all, just to kind of get rid of the texture. But under makeup, this is great. Yeah, to hide the texture, which is once I do it. And also for my more oily people watching this, this will be your new best friend, because when it was pretty hot during the summer, when I was on holiday in Portugal, I had to pick something that would help control oil and also a bit of sweat. And this, I mean, this is drag queen approved. Drag queens use this, so you know it works. Next, we are going to go for the Correct and Conceal palette in the shade Medium 3.0. And what we're first going to do is take a buffing brush like this and go right into the Color Correct shade. And the Color Correct shade is a more peachy shade, which is ideal for color correcting any blue, purple, or green tones. Now, if you look at the color wheel, you will see that orange and pinks and red stand on the opposite of blue, green, and purple. And most of the time, dark circles and beard shadow are more green, purple, or blue tinted. So this will take away that color and make sure it isn't as noticeable. Now, I will show you right here. So with a stippling brush, I go right into the product and just tap it on there. And immediately, I mean, you can immediately see the difference between the tone. Here it is a bit more green, and here it's just completely gone. Do it here as well. I mean, you see the difference right away. I always start with the color correct, just in the center of my face and wherever I need a color correction, of course. And this is not necessarily to highlight this. I know this looks a bit more light, but it's because I am, for myself, a bit more on the yellow side when it comes to my natural skin tone. But this just really takes away those colors for under my actual base foundation. So, you know, also put a bit on my eyelid for when I'm doing any eye makeup maybe later on, but also just to cancel out all of those tones. So I don't really have to put concealer over it anymore because it's already neutralized. Now, what I love about Correct and Conceal is that you don't have to set this with powder at all, and a little really goes a long way. I've been using medium 4.0 for a long time, but it ran a little dark at some point, so I got 3.0. And this, I mean, I have medium 4.0 right here. I've had this for, I think, almost half a year now, and I use it a ton, and it works. I still have plenty left. Next of Correct and Conceal is I'm going to take a bigger buffing brush, which I'm going to use for the concealer shade. Now it says concealer. I use this foundation because this is, to me, the best way to go over the color corrector. And the formula is just really covering. Now, what I will do is I will start in the center of my face and slowly fade it out, which will then create the most natural coverage. So I start right on the cheeks and just tap it into my skin ever so slowly. And you can see it immediately creates this beautiful velvety finish. This just looks exactly like skin, and it does give that beautiful coverage that I was looking for because my skin has been going through it. I mean, come on now. You can clearly see the difference. Also a bit on the forehead, so the entire face is covered and the tone is even everywhere. What I do want to mention with this one is I love it. It can be very high coverage. So what I always advise is use a color corrector just for the places where you want to neutralize those tones, and then use the concealer shade as your base. Now, with a foundation or the conceal shade in this case, I always say to use on the entire face because it creates an even tone, and then with, I probably will go into it. We'll go to in a second. You can then create a dimension. If you don't have an even base, the makeup will be more noticeable. And if you have an even base, you can also build up easier. But this one, build up slowly, because this can be really covering really quick. Now, next up, we're going to go into the Sculpt and Soften palette in the shade Medium. Now, the Sculpt and Soften palette is a sculpting and softening palette, which will create more dimension in the face. What I especially love about the Sculpt and Soften palette is that it comes with a Sculpt and Soften how-to guide. The Sculpt and Soften how-to guide contains 34 ways you can contour each and every single part of your face. What's great about this guide is that it really helps you to look into your face shape, because there are so many ways to soften and really feminize each and every single face shape. So for me, for instance, we're first going to start with the cheekbones. And for me, I like more rounder cheeks because my face is pretty angular and I have a pretty square jaw. And although I have high cheekbones, I do like to round them out a bit more so it doesn't look a little bit softer. So what I would do is I would take a angled buffing brush just like this, and go into the Sculpt shade really softly. So let's take a good amount and then really softly tap it in a rounder motion. So going from up the ear and then go up slightly towards the nose. And I always go from up, from right above the ear, following a line of my cheekbones. This is a great rule of thumb to find the cheekbone, to find the right space for your cheekbones, especially when you're trying to feminize a face to create everything more lifted and up. From up the ear, and then boom, going up right there, following that line of my cheekbones. And I mean, just to mention, that glow this makeup is giving me, obsessed. Now, to go into the forehead, because the forehead is, for a lot of people, a problem area. A lot of people say so. I have the same problem as well. What I tend to do is take Sculpt and go right across the forehead. Just tapping it in for now. For now, we are just putting lines there. We're not blending yet because we're also going to create highlights. And I kind of like to round it off right at the kind of highest point of my brow and create almost, like I heard someone say once, a brown halo. I know it looks really weird for now, but trust me, this is what has worked for me. Now, what I really do invite you to do is to, if you get this, read the booklet further on through, learn how to contour your face shape, because that will help you the most, and just experiment. For the jawline, I'm going to take it right from the back of my ear, following that edge right here, which will, for me, create a softer and rounder jawline. And I'm also applying a bit on my chin to kind of shorten it. I'm also going to take a little bit of that Sculpt shade and going right above my crease. Now I don't really have hooded eyes, but this does help me to open up my eyes a bit more and make them look a little bit more open, especially because I do have pretty deep set eyes. And this also creates a great base for whenever I am going to create a eye makeup look. We've added contour, but now we still need to highlight to kind of balance the two out. So what I'm going to do is take the Soften shade and go right on my under eye, because I love to brighten that up. And kind of make sure that I don't cover the Sculpt shade as much. I'm just, again, tapping it on to lay that product down, so later we can go into blending, which is my preferred technique. Brightening up that under eye, going up a little bit on the cheekbone as well, to kind of lift the eye up. Creating a kind of W right under the lips to kind of soften the chin, bring this part a bit more forward right here, so the chin looks a bit more pushed back, and also a tiny bit under the sculpting shade to kind of emphasize that rounder shape we created. And then also a kind of a square shape right here on the forehead. Now, I look like a Picasso painting, so I'm going to blend everything in by just using the same brush I use for my Correct to Conceal palette. I'm just tapping over the areas, first going over the softened shade, which will then slowly but surely start blending into the rest. The great thing about the Sculpt and Soften palette is that these are a cream formula, and while some people do find a cream formula more hard to work with, what I love about cream formulas is that they do tend to look more natural, especially because cream products don't really sit on top of the skin, and they can melt in together. Like it's now melting into the Correct and Conceal palette, and it just looks way more like skin, especially when we're applying something else on top, like any blush or stuff like that. It will just look more like skin. I mean, come on. This is the perfect base to do anything with. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot more about how you can feminize your face and create an even base for everyday makeup. This is my base now for every single look basically I do, especially when I am on the go and want products that I know work for me and work for my skin. I always take my Jecca Blac with me. You can follow me on @SharmilaMUA on Instagram. And you can follow Jecca Blac on Jecca Blac on Instagram and shop all Jecca Blac products right now here on NFM. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.